You have to see from my end, and I'm listening to you, and I'm a little stunned. Um, I don't know if it's an oxymoron. I don't know if it's just a complete uh, dichotomy of words. You know, you put it all on the line. You have been uh, in firefights. You spilled blood for this country. You how many deployments did you do?
6.
6 deployments, 5 of which you saw combat.
5 of which I've killed someone. There's only one deployment where I haven't shot anyone.
Okay. Now just bear with me for a second. For somebody who has done as much for this country as you have, sitting on the other side of this conversation, hearing you say, I don't even vote, it can mess with your mind, because that's what you're fighting for, is our ability to vote, our ability to be free in a democratic country.
You would think it is.
Saying that, yeah.
You would think it is, but I think that, like the average American civilian, they're privy to only a small slither of the pie of this, what makes this country run. Being in combat and being, having a security clearance, top secret security clearance, and being privy to different, conversations and information. Even when I got out the military, I became a private military contractor and, walked around with U.S. Dignitaries and Supreme Court justice members and the vice president back in 2000. It was Joe Biden at the time. He was vice president, and I was doing work with them when they came over to Iraq. But you're just you see how little the people who send us over there to do our job really care. I was at an event with I don't know how I even got there. It was I guess they wanted me to be on the board of a museum, and it was up in Oklahoma or something like that, and further Wyoming, and I got a chance to meet some really interesting people. One of them happened to be, who is the politician who signed off on all the waterboarding was fine, and Dick Cheney. I met with Dick Cheney. We had a brief conversation, and the disconnect from a politician to a guy who was on it's mind-boggling that there's no comprehension whatsoever. There's a total disconnect. They're in it for one thing, and that's money. That's it. That's the only thing they're in it for. When you're able to see that, you guys like me, we question, okay, well, what are we doing then? What is it that we're truly doing? There's excuse my language, but there's a shit ton of other bad guys on this planet, but we seem to for some odd reason, be very focused on one region of people. I don't know. What do those people have? What does that region have? Does it happen to be minerals, natural sources, oil? I don't know. But I do know it just happens to always be there. And for some odd reason, the people who send us over there, they make these contracts and stuff like that, like Halliburton, who magically win no-bid contracts for the government, and all that money goes back and gets siphoned through the politicians. And we're the guys over there who are fighting to protect that land, or oil reserves, or whatever it may be, poppy fields in Afghanistan. 98% of the heroin that comes to America comes from Afghanistan. I don't know how that gets over here, but I don't know. I see a lot of money that I think that's what we're voting for. We're voting for people who don't care to get rich.
Let me ask you something. Is this a reality you came to while still in the service, or is this after that it all seemed to be, for lack of a better way to put it, you had a moment of clarity, like, damn, I just gave it up and put it all on the line. And what was it really for?
You asked
The guy.
you could have been a vet too, man. Like that's the conversations we had overseas. It's like being in a special operations unit, and we would get tasked out to kill and capture multiple like high value targets. Been on operations that have, the number one guy in Iraq at the time was Al Zakari. Was on that mission. I've been on missions with a lot of number one terrorists or whatever in a region, and been a part of missions like that. But I think that after a while, once you have taken out so many number one bad guys, the next day you wake up, there's another number one bad guy, and that cycle continues and continues and continues. And after a while, like on my last deployment, is when I really started to question, like, what are we here for? Especially after one of the biggest firefights that I've been a part of lasted almost, an entire day. The mission itself was for 5 days. And when I debated, me and the reconnaissance team leader debated on, dropping bombs on our position, dropping bombs anywhere just to, either alleviate the problem or kill everybody else around us. And you get a call back on the comms saying that, no, we can't have that. There's been all stemming from a new rule that's been implemented by the highest powers of the government, that we can't drop any bombs in a region or an area because this may do this and this. And it's like, so what are we here doing? Are we here to win the war or to win some political advantage or whatnot? You start to question a lot. And a lot of us did during that last deployment in Afghanistan. I was there for not the beginning of Iraq, but about 2 years after the invasion. And I went back to watch it all close out as a contractor. And as soon as those guys left, ISIS pops up. You leave Afghanistan in the fashion of what we left it in, you have no choice but to question, well, what was it all for? The guns that we gave them, I can almost guarantee one of them was in one of my brothers or sisters' hands using to fight them at one point. And then you give them our weapons and you give them money and then you finance them. And then you build up this new entity that's not ISIS. You get a whole nother terrorist group. And I've learned in 2008, 2009, that it's impossible to win wars like that. You're trying to kill an ideology, and to kill, it's weird because when I look at these videos of things that are going on in Baghdad or overseas, and you see these protests going on in that country, and they're young kids, they're like 18, 19. I have no choice but to look at these people and question, like, dang, I wonder if at one point in my early childhood or early adult life, did I do something to your dad? Or when I was riding down the road and when you were a kid and attempting to throw like rocks at our vehicle, did I point my weapon at you? You have no, I mean, yeah, I went all around that country. So you realize that you're not killing anyone. You're just sparking a new rage. You can't kill an ideology. And if you wanted to, like I said before, they're only looking at a genocide at that point. And I don't think that's morally right, but it's impossible to kill. It's impossible to kill that ideology of people who want to do harm to America or whatever they feel religiously or spiritually is right for them. You can't kill that. They're going to pass it on to their kids. And if the dad gets killed because of what he believed he was fighting for, and the kid sees it, he's going to have a disdain and resentment towards the people who did that to his dad. And then we're going to do that to that son. And then he's going to have a kid. And that cycle is going to forever continue, forever. So it is a lot of, what is this all for? And the only way to win the war, my opinion, it's going to sound so messed up, but if you truly wanted to win a war, there would be no rules. There'd be absolutely zero rules whatsoever. We're essentially signing up for a mutual combat to the death. We're forced to fight by rules, but the guys who we're fighting against, they never have rules that they have to abide by. So what war are we really fighting? What is the fight? You know, if you wanted to truly win a war, you'd cut the chains off of guys like who I used to be and guys who I used to work with and let us do what we were good at. It would be terrifying. It would be bad, but you got to remember war is hell, right? So you can't really complain about the things that go on. Yeah. I don't know. It's a tough one. Or just not get into war altogether. You know, maybe we should mind our business. And if people want to do X, Y, and Z, let them do it. But I also feel that we're very picky and choosy of where we put our military forces at. Very picky and choosy. You can see.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more. And so much of what you just said was so deep on so many levels. I almost don't know where to attack first because, I mean, you're right. You don't kill an ideology. It's impossible to kill an ideology. For every time that we take out, whether it's us or as we know right now, the Gaza Strip, they're at war with Israel. You know, for every child that is left parentless, for every parent that's left childless, you just create more hate, more disdain, but moreover, you make that ideology true. Whatever the quote unquote enemy believes, now within his family, within people from his same region, they truly believe every word that was said. The other side is evil. They're the bad guy. And truth be told, I mean, you know this better than anyone. You said our country sent you over there to do bad things to bad people. But over there, you're the bad person.
Yep.
It's as simple as that. They look at you, you're the bad person.
Yep.
Wow.